everyone, it's Caroline here from Aussie Cards and Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me today. It's cold and wet outside, so I thought I would sit in my craft room and hide from the world and do some creating. So what I made today is what is known as a pyramid arrow card. It's actually a really pretty card. This one is my prototype, so it hasn't been finished yet with a topper, but it will have a happy birthday or whatever sentiment just there. And I'll also put a piece of white at the back so that I'll have a stamped message on there, and I can write my own message as well. It goes into a 6x6 envelope. It actually measures 5.5 by 5.5, but it does have some depth to it. So yeah, I would tend to put it into a 6x6 envelope. It's a little bit fiddly, and you do need to be really careful with how you do your scoring. But once you know how to do it, it really is quite a simple card to do. So let me take you through it. Firstly, I'll go through what we need to do it. Firstly, your base card. And one of the beauties of this is apart from your base card, the others can be from your scrap piles. This is from my scrap pile, and this is another piece that wasn't actually from my scrap pile, but had I wanted a different one from a different piece, I could have easily found a piece of scrap that size. Okay, so the first piece is a piece of, this is your card base, and this one is going to be 11.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And on that 11.5 piece, you are needing to score at 5.5. Okay, so straight down there, and also at 11. Now, what you also need to do is you need to make a mark. Now, I use this to make a mark, but you need to mark your card top and bottom at 2 3/4 inches, so there, and 8 1/4 inches. Turn it over and then do exactly the same. So it will be 2 3/4 inches and 8 1/4 inches. Okay, now what you need to do is to fold your card in two. Okay, and there is your card base. The other pieces of paper or the pieces of card that you will need a piece of card that is 5.5 inches in length, and that is 2.5 inches wide, and along that 2.5 inch you need to score down at 1 inch and 2 inches, and that is actually going to eventually make this piece just here. So I'll pop that aside for the time being. The mat, I've used silver for this one, and that is going to be 5 inches by 5 inches, and your layer is going to be 4.5 by 4.5. Okay, and of course a topper. So going back to, let's get rid of this. Going back to this piece here, you have folded that over, that's fine. What I would also do is fold your flap over. Okay, so now this is just a little tab that you're going to actually be sticking. So your actual card is going to be from there to there, and this is just a tab. So if you fold that over, you probably won't make the same mistake that I made the first time, and that was to take my score lines to that point rather than this point. So what you need to do is you need to get a ruler, and from, whoopsies, let's go to the other side. That's got a lot of gunk on it. Oh, sorry. What you also need to do, this is 5.5 inches in width, so you will need to mark at the halfway point, which will be 2 3/4 if I've worked that out correctly. So, and that is going to be your center point. Okay, so if you measure that, that should be 2 and, oh, it's not quite. What have I got here? 5.5. So my might just do it with a pencil. 2 3/4. It's just there. And then just to make sure, yep, 2 3/4. So that is the point through just there is the point that all of our scoring will need to go, and we can rub that out afterwards. Right, now what we need to do is you've got 2 marks down the side here, one there and one there, and you've got obviously your corners. So what you need to do is you need to get your ruler, and in fact you can do it, and I probably would find it easier to go right through that center point there to that mark there should go straight through that center point, which it does. So I will do that first score line down like so. I will then turn it over, and through that center point again you will find that you've got your mark here and your mark there, and providing it's going through that center point, you're doing really well. Okay, now my board is not long enough to quite go from that point to that point, so I'm going to do these in two separate score lines. So I'm going to go from my center point there down to my corner, and then I'm going to go from my center point here to my corner, like so. Turn it around and do exactly the same. Now don't forget, and this is where I made a mistake last time and wonder why it wasn't working, I went from my center point to the corner again. So that's why I folded it this time, so that I know that this particular scoring line goes from the center point down to that 11.5-inch mark. So we'll go from center point down to there, and if we've done it correctly, it will be following the same line as up there. And the last one, from once again from the center point down to this corner down here, or not the corner, where the tab is just there. Okay, so that's all your scoring done. I'll take that away. Now you need to do some folding. So very carefully, and this is the reason that I only use the 210 card, because it gets very, very, it just gets too bulky, I guess, with anything that's, I did try it with 270 and it just, it didn't feel right. Oh, you shouldn't actually do that yet. Then we go, always do your long ones first. So I normally don't burnish them until such a time as I've got all the folds done. Just force of habit, unfortunately. Okay, so now you've got that. What you now need to do is to turn it over the other way, and then you are going to fold along these other lines. Okay, once again, making sure they go through that center point. That center point is really, really important, because that is that point there. So there's that one. And then we can come back again and go there. Now, once you finish that, you will find that you will have a piece such as this. So if you move it long ways, let's do it this way. What you now do is, if you squeeze these two in and push them in, you will find that if you have done it correctly, and this is why I don't generally burnish until I am folding it like this, because it does sometimes have a mind of its own. So, but I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to burnish those down. Okay, so there's the bases of our card. What we now need to do is we now need to get the mats and layers. So with the mats and layers, what I like to do is especially with this piece, I like to put the tape on before I actually cut it into the places that we like or that we need. So what I'm going to do, this one, as I said to you before, is 4.5 inches. So on the back, I'm going to make a little mark at 2 1/4. Okay, so that is going to be the center point there. On the side, I am going to make another mark at 2 1/4. Okay, and this side over here is going to be another mark at 2 1/4. Now, what I'm going to do and draw on the back is I'm going to draw a line from that point at the top to this point down here. And there is a method in my madness, because this needs to be stuck on with tape because it's going onto a mirror card. I'm not worrying quite so much about the other piece, like the mirror card onto the card, because that won't be a problem. But this will allow you to put tape on before you actually cut it, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So if you can see that I've got a line down there and a line down there. Now what I'd like to do is put a line from that center point at the top down to the corner. Now you're not going to see these because effectively we're going to cut through these, but they will be on the other side anyway, because this is not the side of the paper that I'm using. Okay, so there we go. What we now need to do is we now need to put our tape on before we actually cut this. Now what I want to do is I want to put some tape right across those pencil lines that I've drawn there. That one didn't go on that straight, but I'm sure this one will be better. So we put a piece there. Now if we turn that over, we know that that's our top, so that's where we've got to work from here. So once again, you need to measure, and your piece of paper is going to be 4.5, so you need to make a mark, just a pencil mark at 2 1/4. Whoopsies, I've just moved it. 2 1/4 inches. So just there, that is going to be your top. You then need to come down your side, and you do that at 2 1/4 inches as well. Once again, these can be rubbed out, they're only in paper and pencil. And the other side, you come down 2 1/4 inches as well. Now what you need to do, and it's up to you whether you do it on your cutting board or whether you do it with a blade and knife. I think I might do mine with a blade today. So what you need to do is you've got your two side markers there, and you've got your top one there, and if we flip that over, you can see that's where we've got our tape as well. So if you line your ruler up, and I always find it best to use a metal ruler for this, line that up, and there's my first piece. My second piece is going to go from the same point there, and it is going to go right down to the corner this time. So there's my second piece. My third piece is going to go from the same point right down to the other corner. So we've got our third piece there, and then our fourth piece is going to go from the, let me just make sure I've got that right. Yes, it's going to go from this piece here right down to our little mark on the side there. Gets a little bit fiddly as it gets smaller, but there we go. Did you press hard enough? Don't forget this has got tape on the back of it, so there we go. So there's our topper. This is our matte layer. Now with our matte layer, I'm just going to glue this when it comes to sticking them on, so I don't need to put tape on the back, even though this one has got tape. So this one is 5 inches. So once again, you need to do the same thing. You need to make a little mark at 2.5 inches. So that's the midpoint. So 2.5 inches just there. And then down the side, it's going to be 2.5 inches. Oh, that's not quite cut right. That one is 4 7/8. And that's 5. I've actually cut that incorrectly, so I'm going to use a different piece. So going back to our card, I will then make my mark, that's better, at 2.5 inches, and that will be my top. I will then do another mark down the side here at 2.5 inches. And that will be obviously the halfway mark there. And then the other side, I will make another mark at 2.5 inches, leaving the bottom free. Once again, I will use a knife for this, and from my top mark, I will then go down to this mark just here, making sure you line them up really well. As I said, you can do this on a cutting board if you want, entirely up to you. Okay, so let me put my blade away so we don't get any injuries. So what we now need to do, and I will speed this up, but these are all going to be placed on top of there. And then I will show you how to place them on your card and how to do that bottom part. So bear with me while I stick these down. I can't use glue for this. Just for anybody who is new to crafting, please, if you're sticking anything onto either glitter card or mirror board, please use double-sided tape, because if you use anything else but double-sided tape, you will find that it will eventually fall off. So let's go. Okay, so they are all stuck on. Now it's a case of us sticking them onto our card. So we'll put these on with glue, because there's no problem with glue sticking to that side of the card. It's the tape that needs to go onto the mirror board. So I will once again speed up, and then I'll show you how to do the bottom part. And so there we go. So this one will, this tab here will fold forward. Now you'll see that this is going to need to be trimmed at the edge. So let's go back to this tab here. What we need to do is we need to concertina this, so you'll end up with something like that. This one is actually going to attach to this piece here, and then this piece will attach to that other one. I think that's right. I think I've done it around the right way. That way. So what we need to do is we do need to make sure that we can, this is going to fit in just here. So if you open it up, this is going to, this piece here is going to be, sorry, yes, that piece is going to be attached just there. So if you turn your card over and that's going to go just right on that score line. So fold that down, hold the whole card together, and then using a pencil, just gently draw from down the sides, because we need to mitre these in. So you'll now end up with two little pieces. You've got your flap around the back, and you've got this. So with your scissors, just go inside, like this side of that line, because you do want it to fit. It's better to be too small than too big. So let me chop that off, and this one, chop that off. The other piece that you need to chop off is you are going to need to make this also, you're going to need to mitre that basically so that it's the same as this. So if you have a look at that, that goes to the edge, it's got to go to there, and this side has got to go to about there. So with those tabs, because don't forget this has got to fold up, so if it's too wide, it's not going to fold in on itself. So we'll just chop that bit off, and we will also chop this bit off. Now what we've got to do is we now need to use some double-sided tape, and I'm going to use this tape because this tape is actually really quite strong, and this is going to be, you will see that what I did is I have got this piece here is the front, so that the piece that where I stuck my main piece of card on there, that's got the tab on the bottom. And so what we need to do is we need to turn that over, and we need to put some tape, just run it along there. You can use red tape for this. I did use red tape last time, but this is a strong tape that I've got here, and my red tape's only thin, so I had to put two lots on. So there's that one there. So that effectively is going to stick onto there, and this one here is going to stick onto there. So we need to put another piece of tape down here, and we will, I can now show you how it all goes together. So this piece needs to go into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm take my tape off here. Well, not the tape off, but the top of the tape. And you need to slide that in, and that needs to be flush with the bottom of the card. With this other piece, once again, take the top off. You need this piece to be in that fold there. So you pop it down there. I hope you can see what I'm doing. And then you just fold that flap up. Okay. And there you have your card. So all left to do is to pop a topper on, and I'm going to put that one just there. That's already got its double-sided tape on it. So I think it just gives it a little bit more dimension. And I'm going to have that just there. So there we have it. There is our pyramid arrow card. I've seen a few arrow cards floating around, but I hadn't seen one like this. And this one like stands alone. I just think it's really pretty. There's the first one, hasn't got the topper obviously. That's the second one. And I really think that they are really, really quite pretty. Please give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the tutorial, and subscribe as well, because then if you subscribe you'll know when I'm putting new ones up. And I'm trying to do it twice a week at the moment. It does depend on what I'm doing work-wise, but generally speaking it can be twice a week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave some comments if you've enjoyed it, or you think that I'm doing something wrong, or you want to make some comment. Please feel free to make some comments. I think it's great. Also, love to see some of these over on our Facebook page. The Facebook page is Aussie Cards and Crafts. We have a very, very large number of people on there, and it is growing daily. So please go on over. If you're not a member, please put a request in, and we will most definitely accept you. And we'll look forward to seeing some inspiration from you too, because a lot of the cards that I get is from inspiration from our members, which is absolutely lovely. So there we have it, our pyramid arrow card. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.